Contradicting statements over the matter. Defense Cabinet Secretary Rachel Omamo today openly dismissed the claims by NASA of any existence of such a plot, claiming that her ministry was not aware of any documents relating to the same. This despite the military spokesman Joseph Owodho earlier today admitting that such documents existed, only that they contained plans to safeguard and not to rig the election. KTN's Timothy Otieno reports.
The allegations made by NASA leaders Friday touching on the Kenya Defence Force's alleged plan to interfere with the forthcoming general election received widespread rebuke from cabinet ministers as well as politicians allied to the Jubilee Party. First on the line to discredit the said claims were Cabinet Secretaries Rachel Omamo and Dr. Fred Matiang'i, who both termed NASA's claims as reckless and unwarranted.
The Kenya Defence Forces has no plans whatsoever, and I repeat, no plans whatsoever to rig the elections as alleged. We recognize that the Kenya Defence Forces has no role to play in the management and supervision of the general elections.
The government does not conduct elections. We do not conduct elections. Elections are conducted by the IEBC according to the law. Our responsibility in the security sector is to facilitate and support the IEBC to deliver on its mandate.
Documents made public by NASA principals outlined an alleged well-orchestrated plan to disrupt voting in certain parts of Mathare and Kibra on election day.
The allegation that the Kenya Defence Forces intends to isolate Kibra and Mathare areas by disconnecting power and water is false, completely untrue, and ought to be treated as such. We urge the residents of Mathare and Kibera to ignore these allegations.
But the NASA team, which has now threatened to boycott the elections if nothing is done to arrest the rigging plot, insists the Jubilee Party is bent on undermining the country's electoral process in order to hold on to power.
There is a sinister plan to use the military to interfere in the electoral process. We want a confirmation that we are going to have elections in this country.
The Jubilee Party states nothing could be further from the truth.
Shame on you, a former senior politician in this country, that you can use our security services that are committed to serving and protecting our borders and our people, and you want to drag them into your petty politics. I say once again, shame on you. I say once again, shame on you.
To try to drag the military into Kenyans' political issues is something unforgivable. It is criminal. And we want to ask our colleagues in NASA to respect the military and our tradition of separation between politics and the military.
The back and forth between the two sides comes on the backdrop of contradicting statements from the Ministry of Defense, with the Kenya Defence Force's spokesperson Joseph Owodho admitting that indeed the documents tabled by NASA were valid.
I have no idea what letters NASA is referring to, because they have not shown them to me. They have not submitted them to me for my scrutiny and verification. But I want to say this, and to say this without fear of contradiction, that these allegations that have been made by NASA are reckless. They are divisive. They are dangerous. They are intended to create fear and despondency within the citizenry of this country and within the Kenya Defence Forces.
The claims come just 9 days before Kenyans head to a much-anticipated election, even as accusations and counter-accusations increasingly continue to become the norm rather than the exception, as each side prepares to wrestle power from the other. Timothy Otieno, KTN News.
Now, despite the gun battle raging at his Sugoi home, the Kenyan Deputy President was on the campaign trail with President Uhuru Kenyatta in Trans Nzoia, Kericho and Narok. As our political affairs reporter